Good evening, race fans, and welcome to tonight's coverage of Green White Checker TV's here at Green White Checker TV for Area 51, the Xfinity Super Speedway Series here on Thursday nights. We've got 90 laps on the schedule at Atlanta Motor Speedway here tonight. Gonna be a fairly cool weather night. We've got 65 degrees in the air, 69 degrees on the track temperature, so it's gonna be a great race this evening and should be a lot of fun coming back to Atlanta. So our first repeat track of the season here on Thursday nights. And alongside with me calling the action will be Mr. Chris Matthews, or Django as he's affectionately known as. How are you doing tonight, buddy?
Doing good. Excited to be here. Always, I'm starting to learn to love Atlanta. At one point, I was not too fond of this track, and I think the repave. I know a lot of people want to go back to the old one, but I think the new repave with these cars and the way that the racing is definitely brings a lot of excitement now.
Absolutely. Obviously, Speedway Motorsports Incorporated, owner of Atlanta Motor Speedway, really have kind of been the pioneers of trying something different with racetracks and racing surfaces over really the only ones that have been willing to try something different. But um, definitely something that is fairly polarizing was this repave. We've got 28 degrees of banking now, the most of any 1.5 mile track, I believe, probably in the world would be, fair to say, but it's very unique. Offers a super speedway style of racing, a drafting track, a plate track, whatever you want to call it. But there's not a lot of lifting until you get later in the runs, where typically, obviously at a 1.5 mile track, you'd be playing with the brake sometimes on a long run and the throttle throughout the corner. But yeah, it's unique, and I am very excited that we have it on the schedule, Chris.
Yeah, definitely. If I was close to that track in real life, I would definitely start buying season tickets there. I think all the products there now are pretty good, and then looks like they've upgraded the amenities around the track as well. So even even in the virtual world, I think a lot of drivers have a lot of positive praises about the track, and it's changed the driving style of a lot of people here. So we have a little bit of a different way to get around here, and still the exact same pit road. So these guys, when we have green flag pit stops, they need to figure out how to slow down when they have about 20 cars behind them, just trying to all hit the brakes at the same time.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I know, obviously, in the real world in NASCAR, they said that you have to enter from turn three or commit to pit lane before turn three. So we'll have to wait and see how that stacks up tonight for green flag pit stop action. But we are halfway through the regular season here. This is again our fifth race of the season, second at Atlanta Motor Speedway, so it might be a little early, but we're going to bring up some championship points here in the battle to show you what's going on and what we're looking for. Obviously, we've got 4 more races to decide who will be in the playoffs for this season. And we will have the 4 race schedule of Atlanta, Daytona iRacing Super Speedway, and Talladega in the playoffs. But for now, Kevin Free sits atop of that leaderboard with 137 points. Teammate Gabe Butler, second place, only 9 points back there in that number 88 machine. Jack Wallace has had a pretty solid season so far. Finds himself in third with Maxwell Caldwell and Bud Steele rounding out the top 5. Brian Wang tied for 5th there as well. And it definitely is pretty tight from there on back. Austin Call with 109 points in 7th. Dean Wilkinson 105 in the 55 car in 8th place. So definitely going to be interesting to see. We haven't decided yet whether we'll be doing 12 cars in the playoffs or 16, and I'll blame the guy down there in 18th place, Guy Al Brooks, for that decision yet. But hopefully we'll have that soon, and we'll know how many we'll have locked in. But for now, it's either 12 or 16. But regardless, if you look at either 12th or 16th, there are a lot of guys. I mean, the cutoff for 16th is only separated by 3 points. The cutoff for 12th currently only separated by 1 point. And with 12, Jim Brooks would be the last car in. With 16, Ambrose Kniebel would be the last car in. And we do actually have one more driver tied for 18th currently with Guile Brooks. That's Bob Fitzgerald with 72. So there's definitely a lot of opportunities for different drivers to make it to the playoffs. And over the next 4 races, Chris, what are you expecting to see these guys trying to do to lock themselves into that chase?
Well, with it being halfway through the season, I would take a look at where I stand right now and what possible points I could start making. We have a lot of guys pretty tight. It's a pretty tight race right there after halfway through the season. So I would probably be making a lot more aggressive moves. And at this point, you got to kind of go for broke if you're sitting somewhere outside, the top eight or anything like that. So if what that means, you have to start making aggressive blocking and possibly start making enemies on the track. Whatever you could do to get those maximum points throughout the night, I would definitely do that. But for the guys that are up front, I think if you try to play it safe and you just do exactly what you've been doing all year, I think you're gonna be pretty much okay.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. It's definitely a long way to go still, but still worth checking in there and talking about it, even if it is a little bit early. But we are getting ready to get going here, and we'll bring up a quick grid for you here. Sebastian Marin is going to grab that pole in that number 23 machine, and Gabe Butler, teammate to his outside, only 11 thousandths of a second slower on the outside of row number 1. So Gabe Butler in that 88 machine. Rick Sanchez, he is going to start in the 510 machine on the inside of row number 2, with Charles Johnson in the number 9 machine to his outside. Former winner here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, the first winner of our season here, the 2023 third season. We've got Bud Steele in that number 6 machine. He's going to start 5th. Remember, he knows his way around this racetrack and is one of our race winners and the race winner here earlier this season. Jack Walls finds himself starting outside of row number 3, with Maxwell Caldwell just behind him into the inside in the 7th starting position. Jim Brooks is going to start in that number 51 machine on the outside of row number 4. Eric Laurie and Ambrose Knievel round out the top 10 starting positions for your evening. Nicholas Wing in that number 28 machine, he's going to start on the inside of row number 6, alongside Corey Buskirk in the 998 machine from Pennsylvania. And our second page of the grid here, starting in the 13th position, is Carl Lingle in that number 30 machine. Jeremy Osborne of Blind Squirrel Racing finds himself in the outside of row number 7. Brandon Paul rounds up the top 15 with Richard Bernius to his outside in row number 8. Andrew Pileshi, Robert Rocknott taking a qualifying time, as well as Bob Fitzgerald and Dean Wilkinson, so they will start at the end of the pack for the evening. We've got, I think it's a 45% fuel load here tonight, so we'll have to wait and see. Not entirely sure yet on where we'll be looking for those fuel numbers, but we are just about ready to get going green here, Chris.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's going to be a pretty exciting race. I know these guys are going to be a little bit white knuckle for a good bit of the beginning of this race, where they're trying to figure out if the car has any wear issues or anything with the handling issues. So I know these guys, some of them have some 4D race wear, and I know it's going to be pretty intense on the start here of the race.
Absolutely, as they come into the Geico restart zone, the Toyota Supra of Sebastian Marin up through the gears. He is our leader and will try and take control of lead of this race early on. He gets clear, 2 cars clear out on the bottom lane as they get a good start there. A little bit of a stack up on the outside lane. It's the 23 of Sebastian Marin pushed by Rick Sanchez and Bud Steele out front.
Yeah, the bottom line usually gets the better start on some of these races right now, but don't ever forget about that top line. That top line is definitely going to be able to make a move, and even though we physically have it, these guys may or may not try to do that third line if it comes down to the end of this race, but that top line definitely will come back strong probably in the next lap or two.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, but definitely the high line has more opportunities as far as passing goes. You can carry more momentum and more speed, but obviously the inside lane is the fastest way around the track, so we'll have to wait and see how that strategy plays out. We are as wide as Daytona at 40 feet, as we're going to go 3 wide. Oh, almost. Bud Steele looked but did not go, but we are 40 feet wide here in turns 1, 2, and down the back stretch and into turns 3 and 4, and you see right there on that front stretch, there is about 65 feet of racing surface there between the line and the wall, so there is a lot of opportunities there to take advantage of a run coming down the front stretch, so we'll have to wait and see how that strategy works out. But Rick Sanchez, last time by, he grabbed a lap lead, and he is currently controlling the race from the outside lane with Bud Steele pushing him.
Yeah, looking at kind of where these guys are running, I think the cars right now they're kind of running a little bit of the offset as we're looking at a three wide up front there. But I think Bud Steele backed off just a little bit, just enough to get back in line right there. But you kind of see these guys trying to run a little bit of offset. I think there might be some handling issues that they're trying to kind of combat. But for the most part, you're literally stuck behind the car, so you also have to figure out if your car is gonna blow up if you stay too close. As Bud Steele makes a move all the way to the bottom, trying to take second and possibly first away.
Yeah, I like this. These guys are making moves early, just trying to see what's going to work, what won't. And I think pretty much from our top three qualifiers, Bud Steele, Sebastian Marin, and Richard Sanchez, they've kind of been all over the place there, just trying to swap positions back and forth. As I think Sebastian Marin actually got that lap led that time by, so a bonus point for Sebastian if he had not already led one. Bud Steele's going to try and do the same to get that single bonus point. Definitely points. We run pretty much the same system as what the Cup Series runs today, so about 45 points for a win. So one bonus point makes a huge difference. Obviously, you saw the playoff standings so far when there are only 4 or 5 points separating the cutoff at the moment. These bonus points are going to be ever so important later on as we come to that cutoff in after the conclusion of this race, and then another 3 more weeks of racing.
Yeah, the way that these guys have to run, I think if you're sitting there, you need to gain as many points as possible. Whether that means not pitting where everyone else is pitting, just so you can lead a lap and gain that bonus point. And obviously, where you finish out on the racetrack, I think that's also going to be pretty important. But looking at the bottom line here, I noticed that these guys are the guys that are leading the bottom line. They're kind of at the mercy of the person that's pushing behind them. Where we have the outside line, they can get around the car. If they feel like it, they'll go to the bottom. But it's kind of a very long leapfrog process that these guys are having. As you see, Richard Sanchez go all the way to the bottom, but last lap he was all the way at the top.
Yeah, they're definitely making some moves, trying to feel the car out, and I'd love to see this. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of action early on without getting too hectic. For these guys up at front, they're going to learn a lot by doing this, trading spots back and forth. They're going to learn where the runs come from, where you can move, and where you can try and generate some more speed, and what works, what doesn't work. And obviously, you just have to get your car ahead of every other car at the start-finish line. So, ooh, we got a slider in the back. Eric Laurie, what a save here. He is going to keep it rolling there after sliding through turns 1 and 2 here. He's going to join the pack. Should not leave the draft here or lose the draft, but that was a big moment for the 071 there that you saw.
Yeah, definitely, and that might be just a little bit of the handling issues, or possibly when you get into the corner, you hit just a little bit of the apron, and it's just going to send the car around. But good job on everybody else behind them for not kind of having to run directly back into him, and they let him merge right back into the line. So everyone's looking pretty well right now.
Yeah, so far so good. We are 9 laps through, or I'm working on lap number 9 right now, so almost 10% of the way through this one. They will move quick if we stay under green flag conditions, so that Sebastian Marin machine, the 23, is still leading the way. He's going to get another lap led, but Rick Sanchez has got to run on the outside as they enter turn number 1 here. And we'll see if Rick can get back to that lead. Bud Steele still working on the inside, pushing the 23 machine of Sebastian Marin. Gabe Butler's working on the outside, pushing the 510. Third in line on the inside is Maxwell Caldwell in that number 94 machine with the 9 of Charles Johnson to his outside. Currently looking for more points battles throughout the field. Ender Pileshi finds himself in the number 11 position. He's just kind of hanging out here. He's the first car kind of outside of the 2-wide action up ahead of him. Maybe anticipating some chaos to ensue, but he is currently your hardest charger. Gained the most spots on the gained the most positions on the evening so far with +6 in the 11th position. So that will be a bonus point if he can hold on to that, and we'll try to highlight those bonus points as much as we can here and throughout the night. But Rick Sanchez looks like he's got a strong run on the outside with Gabe Butler in tow, trying to grab another lap lead there as we work on lap number 12.
Yeah, and I'm looking kind of throughout the field right now. We have about 8 to 10 cars really kind of in this lead pack. You have some guys down at the bottom, kind of single file. It looks like everyone's kind of getting ready to start stringing this one out. You have some cars all the way in the back, kind of forming a second pack right now. But it seems like if you're not in the top 6, a lot of these guys kind of just trying to chill out and figure out where they kind of fit in on this race, and possibly stretch out the fuel mileage if they're running a fuel mileage game right now with the strategy that is being played out. So we have some action up front, but we also have some strategy being played behind them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, pretty much everybody is within 2 to 3 tenths separation at most. Obviously, there's a lot of cars at the front of the pack that are pretty tight there with two wide action, about 3 rows deep now. So you can definitely see how the field's kind of spreading a little bit, but everyone is within this main pack here, and who knows? It's going to be a few more laps for sure. But as you start getting into the teens and into the 20s for lap count, tires are going to start wearing a little bit more, and you're going to have to start lifting as you get into the corners here. And definitely, it takes a lot longer to get there than most other 1.5 miles because of, again, the the drafting style or the super speedway style racing here. But there still is a this is definitely the super speedway track that has the most amount of handling that you have to take into consideration. So as you get later in the run, your tires are going to wear quite a bit, and you can't quite run as fast. You have to blip the throttle just a little bit on entry, and then try to get a good run off of the corner. So we'll have to see who can maximize that the best. And got a couple people chiming in the chat. Appreciate everyone who is in the chat and watching tonight. Muff Duff's calling Bud Steele for the win tonight, so we'll see if he can repeat here tonight at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Oh yeah, well, definitely love seeing the people in the chat, and whenever you guys root for a driver, I think it makes them do well. I don't know if it's like a little bit of a spidey sense, but I feel like these guys do pretty well. Right now, Bud Steele's on that second position on the bottom line, and he's already made quite an impressive move set so far during this race. But I'm looking at a lot of these guys. I think they're starting to have just a little bit of handling issues. We see a little bit of a disconnect throughout the dog leg that they have right now. So these guys have been running kind of 2 wide, and then they kind of position themselves for 3 wide. But I think they're trying to get cooler air in their cars right now and not have so much of a handling issue. But looking at the outside line, I know these guys are going to start looking at pitting, I would say, in the next couple of laps here. So I would say there's going to be some position changes, and these guys need to figure out if they're going to be on the second or third wave of pit action.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, you're going to want to try and come in with as much help as you possibly can. Makes a big difference if you are able to come in with 3 or 4 other drivers, whether that's teammates that you have in the series or anybody else that you can pit with. Definitely going to be beneficial to try and come in as big of a pack as you can, but obviously the more drivers that come in, the more chaos that happens on pit road. And it seems like Atlanta was, I think after the repave, Atlanta is actually an easier pit road to get onto than it was in the past from turn number 4, but nonetheless, Django, it's pretty treacherous getting onto this pit road here.
Yeah, almost feels like a blind corner where you're having to slow down so much and absolutely just crank the wheel directly to the left. But I think my question for you is, when you're by yourself, you don't have any teammates, and you're just trying to get the best possible finish, do you just follow the guys that are normally always up front, like the team boot knocker guys, or do you just try to figure out where you're at right now and stay out as long as possible?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we don't know what the fuel is right now, but if you have the ability and like someone calls out that they're going to be pitting, it's good to have an idea in your head of like, hey, you know what? I think I want to stretch it as far as I can. So you want to maximize or minimize, I guess, the pit stops you need to make. But if you have a lap in mind of when you want to come, but you hear that other people are coming, you have to be flexible too. So I would definitely say if there's anybody, that I'm running around with, especially guys that I know are pretty organized and are really good at pushing, I'm going to try and come with them, especially if they come earlier than I would expect to. But it's the biggest thing you want to minimize is, or the biggest worry would be if you come on pit road and nobody else comes with you. The other worry being if you stay out too long, but I would definitely have a number in mind for as far as what I want to hit, and try to be flexible as far as if I do hear rumblings of anybody else when they're going to pit, and throwing the proverbial hand out the window, as it were, with really just people announcing that to the rest of the league.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see because we only have about 4 or 5 cars on the outside line, and I think that number is getting smaller and smaller. So it seems like people are starting to position themselves. But I know that if you decide to be behind the line and not not decide to go pit, you're going to slow yourselves up and ultimately kind of lose some speed on track at the race pace, just because you're having to check up and get around some of the cars that are pitting. But I think we'll see here in a couple of seconds a couple cars swerving and snaking around, just announcing to themselves like, hey, I'm going to pit. and you kind of see a little bit of a breakup in the pack once we actually do start pitting. But you look at guys like Boss Fitzgerald, Jeremy Osborne, Ambrose Knievel. They're kind of just sitting in the back. I'm not sure if they're using more fuel or anything, but I think they're already starting to separate themselves and try to figure out when this move is going to be needing to be made.
Yeah, you can see there a lot of guys are starting to break up that outside lane. The 88 machine's going to find a hole in the bottom. It's going to put Jack Walls, the first car in the outside lane. He was doing some good work on that high lane a couple rows back, but Eric Laurie also finding himself further up the field. Dean Wilkinson and Richard Bernius are up quite a few spots from their starting position right now as they work and try and find their spots back in the inside line. Really, Jack Wall's the only car trying to work on the high side as he doesn't have a way to get down as the 51 machine of Jim Brooks is going to clear or is going to fill that hole. So definitely for the 83 of Jack Walls trying to find a spot where he can jump in line and get ready to make his pit stop here as we are working on lap number 24.
Yeah, it feels like such a short race with just how these guys are running, and now that the speed of the racetrack with we have 90 laps. That's a good bit of a race there. Whether you race virtually or if you're at the track, you might actually have to take a pee break every once in a while whenever you do something like that. But the way these guys run, it's so intense that I feel like you have to sit here throughout the whole race. But we have little segments being broken up with the pit cycle and everything else like that. So when you do get a caution, you almost feel like you've already ran a full race and you have another half race to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's very fast paced here. The laps click off very quickly. Obviously, we've increased the lap count to 90 laps. Typically, we'll run 75 laps or so at Daytona and Talladega, and then about 70 laps at iRacing Super Speedway. But typically, with the speeds here in the pack, we're actually seeing laps still in the 30, 31 second, low 31 second range. So, if you take that 90 laps and assume 30 seconds a lap, that's only 45 minutes of action, whereas 75 laps at Daytona or especially Talladega is going to be well over an hour, and it can be over pretty quick here as we're almost approaching the 1/3 way through this one, working on lap number 27 right now. Single file throughout the field, but Rick Sanchez has found himself in that lead spot, and I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing some cars come onto pit road here very soon.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you can start hearing some guys not necessarily fully in the throttle. They're probably lifting around 90-80% on the throttle right now and just trying to save as much fuel. So I think the guys up front, they're pushing each other, but they're also kind of slowing down. I know they're still hitting their 30s. I think we had the first 31-second lap not too long ago. But I think you see these guys just get a little bit slower as we're going around the track. And I think they're just trying to stretch it out as long as possible with the fuel mileage.
Yeah, definitely. I think you can see there, it looks like Rick Sanchez lower on field. He's going to come in this time by, see if he's got anybody else coming with him. He's got the 6 machine, but still contact. Yep. Charles Johnson in the 9 here. Ooh, slides sideways the 55. Ooh, the 171 of Robert Rock. Very fast in the pit road. Gonna have to wait and see if anybody had any pit road speeding penalties, but that is going to give the lead to the 23 of Sebastian Marin. You saw him make the move to the high side in turns 3 and 4, and he's gonna find himself ahead of this single car pack, as we'll probably look to see a few drivers coming down this time by as well. And we'll have to wait and see who those comers are. Gabe Butler is going to lead that pack. Sebastian Marin's going to come in. 071 of Eric Laurie is going to slide and spin. He's going to spin all the way around. No contact with any other car.
Oh, he missed him. Oh.
Thankfully, no other contact, but that is going to put him a lot further back and probably without drafting help, as that is most of the rest of the field here coming down. Sebastian Marin, Gabe Butler, Rick Bernius, Carl Lingle, Bob Fitzgerald, Jeremy Osborne, Ambrose Knievel, and Eric Laurie. That'll leave this crew out on the track. That's Maxwell Caldwell, Jim Brooks, and Jack Walls. I am very happy to report that nobody in the first batch of cars on pit road have had any pit road speeding penalties at all. So no penalties so far. We'll have to wait and see what it looks like for the second group. As you see this third group on the pit road here, Maxwell Caldwell, Andrew Pleshy, Jack Walls, Nicholas Wing, and others, as Jim Brooks is the lone car on the track right now all by himself.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. And we just talked about how we had 30-second lap time. So as soon as these guys get their pits in, we had the next group coming in, and the third group, and possibly a fourth group after that. But it looked like everyone kind of luckily got in there. I'm not sure if there was other speeding penalties or entry penalties on the other two groups, but seems like everyone got in there pretty safe. No one absolutely destroyed their cars coming in there. I know there was a little bit of sliding, so I know that these guys like to not take tires when they do pit, but it seems like you might have had to with guys like Eric Gorey who had that massive spin out, so he probably burned his tires off and had to take tires on this trip. But yeah, great job on everyone else. That was pretty intense.
Sorry, I missed the key there for the the talk button. But so we're through these pit cycles for the most part here. Looks like a couple drivers did it the best of the Sebastian Marin and Gabe Butler group here. These cars are two cars broken away from the pack by about a second and a half or so, second and 6 seconds. We got a yellow flag further back in the field. We'll have to check out and see where the action happened.
I think telemetry is telling me that Carl Lingle is slow on the track right now.
Okay, there we go. So
I'm trying to find him.
yeah, 30 machine potentially involved here. We're going to try and grab a replay and see if we can make sense of what happened back here. And we'll see here. Looks like gets a little bit loose in turns 3 and 4, and a little bit of help there as he goes around. Dean Wilkinson not able to pull out of line fast enough, and I think we're going to see, for the most part, everyone get through here. We'll have to wait. See, I think it was pretty much just a single car accident here that we see. So a slide from the 30 as we will jump back to live pit cycle action. We've got a couple cars coming down pit road here as Sebastian Marin's going to lead the way and try to top off on some fuel, I believe, as well as quite a bit of the rest of the field. Gabe Butler, Charles Johnson, Bud Steele, Maxwell Caldwell, Corey Buskirk, Nicholas Wing, and others in for a little bit of a splash of fuel. But we got through that entire green flag pit cycle. I think the only penalties I see here were from Jeremy Osborne and Richard Bernius taking more than 40 seconds to pit last. So I think those were the only two penalties that we saw under green flag action. And this is going to, with the pit cycle here, the strategy, Rick Sanchez, Bob Fitzgerald, Jack Walls, and Jim Brooks are going to find themselves in the top 4. And the first car that pit on this caution will be the 23 machine of Sebastian Marin. But we'll be right back for the middle third and final third of this one here tonight, right after a quick sponsor break.
.40 Racewear, makers of the ultimate sim racing shoes and custom apparel designed for sim racing by sim racers. .40 racing shoes are engineered to connect racers to the pedals in a way no other racing shoe can, all the while giving you the comfort needed to complete those double and triple stints. Visit 40racewear.com and check out the latest sim racing products that let you connect to your sim.
And we thank our sponsor 4D Racewear for providing that break. And don't forget to use that code area 5115, area 5115 on the website 4dracewear.com for all of your sim racing apparel. I know I've got a pair of gloves here that are wearing out pretty bad. I need to get me a set of those gloves and maybe a set of shoes and really style out there on my sim rig there, Django.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to have some 4D racewear. I'm gonna have to start shopping around. I know the birthday's coming up soon, and so is Christmas and Black Friday. So I don't know if they're gonna have any Black Friday sales or anything like that. But a lot of shopping opportunities to the spouse, wife. Wink, wink. If you're watching this, I hope you are. Putting out ideas out there, manifesting it. Yeah. But yeah, would love to have some more sim racing wear here. Anything that makes me feel like I could drive a little bit better. I think it's gonna be a good product for me.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely something to say for look good, feel good. But we've got more green flag action in just a second here. The pace truck is going to dip off Rick Sanchez after not pitting under this green or yellow flag cycle here, the first caution of the night for the 30 machine of Carl Lingle. Rick's going to find himself at the head of the pack, getting back up through the gears, back up to full speed. The 83 of Jack Walls has a great push from the 23 of Sebastian Marin at the moment. We'll see if that outside lane can actually get a good restart going. Not a lot of connection there on the inside from the 510 and the 51, but they get there now. 3 cars lined up nose to tail in the inside lane. 2 cars lined up nose to tail in the outside lane. Gabe Butler just trailing back about a car length in that outside lane. 3rd car there, and we'll see who can get this lap led here as we go back to green on lap number 36.
Yeah, 2 cars on the outside line, making a very strong push. For a lot of these guys, I already felt like a heat race was, completed, and now, some of these guys that had some issues on pit road, and they were lucky enough to get a little bit of a caution break right now. But I guess we're starting the second heat or second stage of this race, and already feels just as intense as we left off on the first one.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll see. Intensity's going to ramp up just a little bit here as, like we mentioned, we are just past the 1/3 mark and probably getting pretty close to the halfway mark here. We'll be lap 38 this time by, but you can see the field there. Couple rows of 2 wide action there as Jack Walls leads another lap. A couple bonus points, or a bonus point at least for him for the night, as he's going to jump down to the bottom ahead of the 510 of Rick Sanchez and try to take over the point of this one. It's the beautiful roof cam as you see the drivers. You can see how much they really are moving back and forth through, left and right down the front stretch and in through the corners and everything. You'll see these guys start to drift up a lot more as they get into the corners on the long run. But right now, everybody's got fresh tires and a full tank of fuel in these Xfinity Series cars.
Yeah, definitely, and I can see some little bit of respect being paid around the drivers right now. No one's able to really get to bumper to bumper push. I think it's definitely physically possible, but you really only see that up front. But it looks like everyone else is kind of giving each other just enough room to keep going as fast as possible, but without having any aggressive pushing. But I think once we get closer to the end of this race, you're going to see a lot more aggressive pushing. Some cars are going to get a little loose and possibly out of shape.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see as the 510 moves to the high side. He's going to pick up the 23 now with Sebastian Marin, going to leave the 83 on the bottom by himself. Help coming eventually here out of the corner 2 from the 51 of Jim Brooks, but 510 is already pushed alongside, or out to the lead, I should say, and he's going to take over the top spot and jump down in front of the 83 machine there. That's going to keep the 23 machine of Sebastian Marin still in that outside lane with the 88 of Gabe Butler pushing him. Those guys are working together tonight as teammates, so trying to stay as lined up as possible. And we got a couple teammates up here, Corey Buskirk and Ambrose Kniebel there. The 3rd and 4th cars in the outside lane for Blind Squirrel Racing, slowly finding their way to the front. Corey Buskirk up 7 positions as he sits right now, scored in 5th place. That is our highest mover and worth a bonus point at the moment. So have to wait and see if he can continue this good run through the middle third of this one. But the 998 and 04 machines making some good progress here.
Yeah, so Flying Squirrel Racing has definitely impressed me over the last couple of weeks, and these guys were running in the back during the first half of this race right now, and I think now they're trying to test the waters and see what they got. But they're always working together. I never see one without the other, and I definitely love that when it comes to these super speedway type racing. I know we have the classic boot knocker stranglehold that these guys usually hold, but it's always great to see them or any other team kind of try to take it to them. I know that every once in a while they kind of get surprised. The front runners usually get surprised by some of the guys that aren't necessarily always contending for the lead. All 90 laps of the race. So I think these guys are doing well on the outside, and we might even see a potential shift of the lead right now.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Sebastian Marin is trying his work on the outside here with Gabe Butler pushing him right now. Still have Rick Sanchez and Jack Walls lined up nose to tail on the inside lane. Jim Brooks, Bud Steele find themselves 3rd and 4th in the inside with, again, the 998 of Corey Buskirk and Ambrose Kniebel lined up. Those are your first 4 rows, and there's quite a few guys that are lined up double file behind them. And yeah, definitely pace picking up here as we've got about 10, 12 cars here now lined up side by side. A couple cars that are just a lap down. Jeremy Osborne's going to be the first car 1 lap down. Bob Fitzgerald has lost the draft, and he is by himself and Richard Bernius is going to be, I believe, 2 laps down here. Scored currently 2 laps down here. So, Robert Rock is the last car on the lead lap and the last car in the pack that you see right now. So that's 17 cars on the lead lap. Jeremy Osborne in the lucky dog position as it sits. And Bob Fitzgerald should be able to pick up this lead pack. As you'll see, Sebastian Marin is just behind him, entering turn number 3. As he's Bob Fitzgerald is about the stripe this right now. So there'll be 2 cars battling for 2 laps down here fairly shortly, as we are halfway done with this one already.
Yeah, and unless he decides to go to the apron, these guys are going to have to figure out what 3 wide looks like to them, and not everyone might be on the same page. Obviously, the front 4 could probably see that lap down car. Everyone else behind them is going to have to adjust to what's in front of them, unless they start giving out orders of, hey, we're going to go high, second lane go to the third lane, first lane go to the second lane, or figure something out, or even the lap down car, kind of holding this line on the outside line. But these guys need to figure out if they're going to need to make any lane or lane change movements.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. It's definitely going to be tough if they are to go, go around that lap car as they get to him. But as of right now, it's interesting to see Rick Sanchez. He did not pit under that that yellow flag cycle there. He's one of the only few that did not. Jack Walls did not. Jim Brooks did not. And they find themselves at the front of the pack. Now the 23 machine in front of the 510, as the 510 is going to get him run back to the bottom here. Rick Sanchez pitted the earliest of anybody in the field at lap 28 and stayed out there, so he's going to have the least amount of fuel in that car. I think he's still in a position there to be able to go to lap number 60. Obviously, if you double lap 28, that'd be 56 for his next pit stop, but we had the yellow flag laps in there. Should be enough for him to save, but he is definitely not saving much fuel as he is continuing to try his hand at leading this one. I think Sebastian Marin's going to get this lap led this time by, but it'll be interesting to see. I think everybody with that caution flag is going to be able to make it on one stop, as we're going to squeeze around the lap car, the 2 lap down car of Bob Fitzgerald here through the pack.
Yeah, and he's absolutely slow. Just feels like there's a parachute in his car right now. But that was the safest thing I think for him to do. He'll gain the speed if he can kind of get behind another car, and he'll tag onto the back of this group. But I think he's just a little bit slow. But great job for everyone getting around him. I know that's a very intense situation with. We have an ability to go 3 wide here, but not all the time do people necessarily hold their lines, and a lot of times you gotta get crashes like that. Even in the short tracks, it's the exact same thing. But good job on everyone for being able to get around him. Looking at the kind of middle pack of this front one, where I'm looking at Corey, Bud Steele, Ambrose Knievel. A lot of these guys aren't necessarily pushing as hard as the front 4 right now, and I think that's just a testament to these guys just trying to play a little bit safe before we have another set of pit stops. So I know we guys went around 30 to 34 laps on pit. And whether these guys took fresh tires or not, we see a little bit of a handling disparity between the outside line and the inside line.
Yeah, definitely starting to see a little bit of that so far in this run as we approach the 20 lap mark in this one. So going to be getting very close, about 10 laps to the last pit cycle of the race. Obviously, it looks like about 30 laps here, as it looks like Bob Fitzgerald actually crashed at the back of the pack. He's going to jump to the pits, take the tow. And I believe that may be it for him for the evening, unfortunately. We're a couple laps away from some more green flag pit stops, and would think that this would be the last one that everyone would need to make. Other than maybe Rick Sanchez, everybody should be able to stretch fuel the rest of the way. So we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, with Rick Sanchez continuing to lead that inside lane, he's probably not concerned with fuel. So his data probably showing and telling him that he's got enough to make it to the end, and just going to continue doing what he can do to stay up front in this one, as we are working on lap 53 now, and starting to wind down. Intensity's starting to ramp up.
Yeah, and at this point, these guys have to figure out: are they going to want to make one more stop when they know right when the window opens, or do they want to stretch it out as much as possible just in case we have a green light checkered? type of finish, or we have about 3 of them that we had to go through. So if it's me, I had to make that decision. I want as much fuel as possible where I don't ever have to worry about it again. I don't want to necessarily come in right when the math says I can come in. So if it's me, I want to be able to stretch this pit stop out. But on the first one, I think once you hit a certain number, I think that's when everyone starts to come in. That was right around the 30 lap mark for most of these guys.
Yeah, and with everyone pretty much topping off on lap 33 for the yellow flag, I think we'll be in a pretty good situation for most of the field, but have to wait and see. Definitely, yeah, it's going to be it's all going to be about how you get out on pit road. I mean, we saw the 23 machine and the 88 machine. They were well ahead of the rest of the field by how well they got in and out of their pit stalls and got their service 4 tires and Sunoco race fuel. If they can do that again, it'll be pretty easy for them to maintain that lead that they would have had the yellow not come out. So we'll have to wait and see. And yeah, just as about as we were going to try and start going through the field there and see how the packs were lined up. We had that action and brought everyone back together, and we'll have to wait and see if that split happens once again.
Yeah, and I'm kind of looking around here. It looks like we have, teammates set up, decently around the track, and I think we have maybe less than 10 laps before the pit window opens, where these guys will hit right around lap 60. I know we have a 90-lap race, but I think they're going to try to stretch it just a little more. But I don't think we're really going to see any more aggressive passing unless something happens with the handling of some of these cars. I know. The car that pitted the earliest, I think, was Sebastian right now. And unless he decides to run it empty and run it on fumes, I think he's going to have to come in a little bit earlier than everyone else. So that might put him under stress right now with him leading the pack and everyone else going to have to navigate around him. But I think everything else will be working out pretty okay.
Yeah, I have to wait and see. So far, no urgency to get down to the inside lane. For some of these drivers on the outside, we still see the 23 to 88 working on the outside. The 998, Corey Buskirk and Ambrose Kniebel in the 04 up there as well. You see Carl Engel who brought out our first caution. He is working 5th in the outside lane. Eric Laurie, our other spinner for the night that did not bring out a yellow, he finds himself there in 12th in the outside lane. As well as you get the lap down car of Jeremy Osborne. That's pretty much everybody who's trying to make that outside lane work at the moment. As we'll see, the 510 is going to keep coming down pit road here. Man, that's going to be tough. It's probably going to be really difficult for him to stretch the rest of the field for the rest of this.
Yeah, what was it lap 58 coming to 59? So he could make it to the end, but now he has to combat with any possible green white checkers that we have at the end. But he's already going to be not having any help coming off pit row with his drafting help. So these guys are already getting ready to come back around again, as I. Pretty sure he's getting out of the pits, or no, he's still getting service. No, sorry, never mind. I'm looking at the wrong car. But yeah, it's going to be a little bit difficult for him to get back around and possibly try to retake this lead, as he's going to get lapped here shortly if everyone else is running where they need to be.
Yeah, he's not going to have any drafting help, and he's probably going to be having to save fuel as much as he can. Looking at the numbers, he probably going to have to stretch 2 laps, maybe 2 laps here. So we'll have to wait and see. Everybody else in the field is going to have at least 2 more laps, as we still don't have any other takers on pit road, as we are now working on lap 61. As you mentioned earlier, Chris, trying to get a little bit more security in the fuel situation for a lot of the rest of the field to make sure they know that they can go the rest of the way. Obviously 31 laps, 30 laps, pretty comfortable from what we saw from the first batch of green flag pit stops. But definitely window opening starting now, and we'll see if any takers on pit road or if everyone's still going to continue to stretch that fuel, and it looks like everybody will go at least a few more laps. And the further these guys go staying out, especially with the draft here and with Rick Sanchez without a single bit of drafting help, that may unfortunately seal the fate for him unless we were to have a caution come out.
Yeah, everyone absolutely spread out single file as soon as Richard went into his pit. But I think we have a couple of takers right now. At least looks like the 83 is the only one coming to the pit. So another one, and he spins. I think he's coming back onto the track.
Oh, he's going to spin out. He's going to be all the way back on the track. I think that's going to bring out maybe bring out a yellow. We'll see here. Usually
I
a
think
car
he's
stopped
technically
on
still
track.
on the apron.
Yeah, he's on the apron, so no yellow is going to be triggered by iRacing. But man, that is an unfortunate break for the 83 machine, who has had a solid night all night long, and yeah, definitely going to be taking him out of contention here with that spin, I would think, as I think we got a couple drivers coming in this time by. Looks like Jim Brooks is going to lead that charge. Maxwell Caldwell in the 94, the 071, the 30, and some of the front runners, the 23. Oh, we got a bit of a lockup here and some contact.
It's a traffic jam.
Oh man, lot of incidents there as they get onto pit road, but smooth sailing there for our leaders, Sebastian Marin and Gabe Butler, and a lot of chaos behind them as we come down pit road, but that's going to leave the lead to this number 6 machine of Bud Steele with Charles Johnson and Corey Buskirk, as well as Ambrose Kniebel and Nicholas Wing, top 5 that have not pitted yet, and they are going to come down this time by, it looks like.
Yeah, it looks like Bud Steele might have hit the grass coming in, so that might be another penalty. But yeah, it was a big traffic jam on the entry, and you know, like we were talking about earlier, this track's a lot more narrow, even though it's a little bit easier to get on pit road. But these guys definitely have to kind of let each other know, I think, a little bit ahead of time and let off the gas. But I think we had a couple guys. I think we're gonna see the lead lap counter dwindle right now, where we had at one point, I think, 16 guys on the lead lap. I think we're gonna have even less now.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how it all shakes out, but you see Nicholas Wing here coming out with Bud Steele and Charles Johnson, and they are going to be in the lead, but it looks like they got another great jump as Sebastian Marin is locked on with Gabe Butler and trying to get ahead of the field. They're going to pass the 28 machine as they come back on the track here, you see. So these two are going to be your leaders by themselves once again. Nicholas Wing comes out in third as he merges. He's probably going to be able to pick up this number 94 machine of Maxwell Caldwell. As there's a wreck behind them, Andrew Pileshi into the wall, but still moving. Bud Steele picks up the 5th spot. He's going to have some drafting help from Brandon Paul here. Charles Johnson is still rolling here in the 7th position. Andrew Pileshi trying to get rolling after that contact with the outside wall. Rick Sanchez has found a group of cars here. Unfortunately, they are currently about 9 seconds back of the leaders, but we've got Rick Sanchez, Corey Buskirk, Ambrose Kniebel, Eric Laurie, Dean Wilkinson, Jim Brooks, Carl Lingle, and should also be Robert Rock in this group here. So once it settles out just a little bit, we'll get you through a little bit more of that field. But right now, Gabe Butler and Sebastian Marin with a commanding about a 1.3 second lead over the rest of the field, and going to try and see what they can do to stretch that as much as they can to make this a 2-horse race.
Yeah, so I think the fun part about this, you know, obviously we had a wreck around the same time after the last pit stop, but the fun part is no one took tires, and the handling on these cars have gotten a lot worse with the heat and tires and everything else like that. So between the top 4, which is Sebastian, Gabe Butler, Nicholas Wing, and Maxwell Caldwell, there's no one else really having to you know, race these guys. But when you look at the rest of the pack, a lot of these guys are not running as tightly as they could due to the tire wear. So I think once everyone kind of bunches up and they're not having to speed and use all their gas, I think we're going to have a pretty exciting conclusion to this finish if the top 4 don't really you know, screw this up. I think they kind of got this unlocked. The top 4 did a great job pitting, and I think that's the ability of what this track can offer.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see as these things start to settle out a little bit. Gabe Butler and Sebastian Marin here, you see at the bottom of the screen, have about just under a second advantage now, as it looks like the 94 machine is pushing the absolute crap out of the back of the 28 of Nicholas Wing, trying to get up to those front runners, and it soon may be a 4-car pack at the front of this one, but Maxwell Caldwell all over the back of the 28 trying to see what they can do to get up to the front of this one, and it's going to be about 4 seconds back from the back of the 94 to the 6 machine of Bud Steele. He finds himself in the top 5 with Charles Johnson pushing him and Brandon Paul as well here. Something interesting to note here in this front group, Nick Wing did not take tires. Gabe Butler, Sebastian Marin, and Maxwell Caldwell did take at least 2 tires, assuming those would be right side tires. So we'll have to wait and see. I think Maxwell Caldwell's going to really want to try and get up to this 3-car draft, or this 2-car draft of Gabe Butler and Sebastian Marin, because who knows, that 28 machine of Nicholas Wing is not going to have the handling, as he's going to stretch probably over 60 laps on his tires by the end of the race, and that's definitely not going to be easy to handle as it gets later into the run. But so far, we mentioned already, Bud Steele, Charles Johnson, Brandon Paul in this kind of the second or third group, if you will. Another 2.5 seconds back is Rick Sanchez, and pretty much the rest of the field here with Dean Wilkinson, Jim Brooks, Corey Busker, Carl Lingle, Ambrose Kniebel, Robert Rock, and Eric Laurie here, and yeah, Andrew Pileshi 1 lap down at the moment. Jeremy Osborne still 1 lap down. He's working back there with the 73 of Richard Bernius, who is now 2 laps down. And that's pretty much the rest of the field here, Chris. Looks like our second pack of 2 cars has just about caught our leaders.
Yeah, and I was watching Nicholas Wing. Obviously he didn't take any tires, and his car was getting a little squirrely just after he was getting pushed by the 94. But it looks like he was able to catch up to them, and I think he can kind of start backing off a little bit now, and just kind of try to save fuel. But you can see these guys are not necessarily following that red line. I know usually we have a yellow at the other tracks, but they're not necessarily following that red line all the way at the bottom as tightly as they usually would at the beginning of this race. So it seems like everyone's kind of just trying to figure out where their handling is at right now, as we see a big push from the 23 to the 88. But that's honestly it. It's a 4-car race right now for this for the win right now, where we have Bud Steele a couple seconds back right now, and he doesn't have much help. I know he has Charles Johnson behind him and then Brandon Paul, but these guys aren't really lined up, as we're having a second pack behind those guys starting to form up. So it seems like these guys don't get together quick enough. The race might be over for the rest of these guys.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, but huge props to former broadcaster and friend of Green White Checker TV, Maxwell Caldwell, in that number 94 machine. I used to call the action here on Thursday nights. That was a big move, and who knows, could be it definitely could be a big move towards the end of this race. We'll have to find out if that is a race-winning move or not, but his pushing of Nicholas Wing to get them to this front pack was absolutely everything that he needed to do to get there, and he's going to have a shot at the win now with 15 laps to go if things stay status quo. So definitely going to consider that to be at the moment the biggest move of the race for that 94 machine.
Yeah, great showing from him, and I think, like we said, it all started from the pit cycle that everyone had. He didn't make any mistakes getting on or off pit road, and he was able to capitalize on that situation. And I'm trying to look through the field right now. I thought we were going to have a lot more guys, a lap down with the mistakes that were made, where we had a couple guys slip, spin, and not necessarily have any penalties. But it looked like we only had 15 cars on the lead lap. I thought it'd be a lot less, to be honest with you. I thought it'd be a lot more guys, off the pace and a lap down. But it looked like everyone was pretty all right. Yeah. Unfortunately, there's some guys that are 1 to 2 laps down currently.
Yeah, we saw Andrew Pileshi get into the wall there after his pit cycle, and that was enough momentum to slow him down enough to go 1 lap down. Jeremy Osborne has been working 1 lap down for a lot of the race, unfortunately, so far. Jack Walls lost 2 laps as he spun trying to make his way onto pit road, and because he came by himself, didn't really have any drafting help, unfortunately. And then Richard Bernius there in that number 73 machine finds himself 2 laps down. Fitzgerald, we already mentioned, has retired, and it looks like Eric Laurie has lost the draft of the pack that he was in, so he is currently by himself, and will probably eventually find himself behind the 4 leaders that we have at the front of this one. But it's still Gabe Butler, Sebastian Marin, Nicholas Wing, and Maxwell Caldwell battling out in the front 4. We'll probably focus on this one if we continue with green flag action. So we'll highlight this middle pack As you mentioned here just a minute ago, Chris, this middle pack has now been caught by the further back pack so Bud Steele and Charles Johnson continue to lead here, and they have Brandon Paul still in tow, but Rick Sanchez, Dean Wilkinson, Jim Brooks, Corey Buskirk, that whole group has caught up, and this is the second pack that we have in the field. Robert Rock at the end of this pack is our last car, one lap down. A couple lap cars spread throughout the middle of this field here, but pretty much it's going to be a battle for first and a battle for fifth, as we are just about to go into the 10 lap to go, or go under the 10 lap to go mark.
Yeah, you can kind of see Bud Steele. He's probably going to have the most exciting and most important part of this race right now to make this not necessarily a 4-car race, but, you know, to bring this pack all the way up to the top 4 right now. And I think he's going to definitely need a little bit more help from the pushing aspect besides Charles right behind him. So I think he's going to need, you know, Brandon Paul and Mr. Sanchez to really kind of give it their all of setting this standard of hot lapping right now. I think if everything goes right when we get to the end, maybe a lap or two prior, I think we're going to have a big pack racing ahead of us. So Bud Steele definitely needing to lead these guys, and you know, Dale Jr.-esque with the Pod Piper. I think he needs to get these guys kind of in check and kind of in gear, or else these top 4 are going to check out.
Yeah, right now they're running pretty even lap times. Bud Steele with a 31:13, Gabe Butler with a 31:16 that last time around, but really not enough there for those guys to be able to catch this front pack for sure, especially with 9 of the now 8 laps to go as we cross the stripe. Gabe Butler there in that 88 machine, still leading this one. Sebastian Marin pushing him. We have a swap for third place, though. Just missed it there as we were highlighting the mid-pack, but Maxwell Caldwell has made his way around the 28 of Nicholas Wing, and he's going to have his work cut out for him to try and get around this duo of Gabe Butler and Sebastian Marin, knowing that they are working together tonight. It's going to be really hard to separate those two, but the 94 machine is going to try and do everything he can with 7 laps to go to get up to the lead and try and see if he can win this thing without any help.
Yeah, I think they were kind of just given a life raft with Nicholas Wing, not necessarily being in tow with this top 3 right now. I think with him falling off, they're gonna be subjected to Bud Steele and his group, and that's gonna be kind of just a linkage that they're gonna need, that little bit of a life raft to pull the rest of these guys out. Same thing with Eric Orr. If Eric Orr can kind of get behind him and figure things out, they might be able to make this a very interesting race with the linkage. I want to say a little bit of a slingshot that these guys are going to need as the 94 goes wide. I not sure why they might want to do that. I know that it's going to slow both cars up, and if all things work out, Bud Steele can definitely get this group up there with enough pushing help.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Still the gap about 5.7 seconds back to Bud Steele off of the leader, as Maxwell Caldwell is now trying to pull even with the 23 of Sebastian Marin. He's going to have help with the 28 of Nicholas Wing. I'm amazed that Nicholas is able to hang on at this point. He has over 50 laps on his tires at this point, and that car is absolutely going to be a handful for the rest of this one. So amazed that he is able to stick around with the speed of this lead pack. But now you see the lap car of Eric Laurie, the 071. He's going to jump in here, and he's going to help his teammates of Gabe Butler and Sebastian Marin, the 23 machine. And we're going to have to wait and see with 5 laps to go who is going to settle this one. Is it going to be the 3 teammates, the 2 on the lead lap, Gabe Butler and Sebastian Marin, or is the 28 machine going to have enough to push the 94 up to the front and to try and win this thing? Obviously, the 28 has everything to thank from the 94 machine for getting them up to that point after the green flag pit cycles, and we'll have to wait and see how much the 28 machine has in store as the 94 is trying to get up to the front without a ton of help there, as he's trying to side draft as much as he possibly can on the 88 and the 23 machines, but the 88 and the 23 still prevailing as they are locked nose to tail with 3 laps to go.
Yeah, a little bit of a crazy stack up right there. I know these guys are trying to run and get away from this group behind them that's chasing them. But with the handling issues, even though they've taken 2 tires, it looks like these cars are still getting squirrely. And that kind of just means a lot more risk for the guys in the back if they decide that they want to race and not try to press the issue. So there's still potential for a big wreck right now, even if it's with these 5 cars up front.
We are going to get the 2 to go signal here as the 94 continuing to try and make that side draft work. Not a ton of help, about a car length back to the 28. not able to get up any further than where he is right now. The 94 trying to do, like we said, as much with the side draft as he can, but the 23 still all over committed to the back bumper of that 88 machine. Maxwell Caldwell working really hard on that high lane to try and get that win, as we are going to get the white flag this time by Django.
Yeah, very very exciting race that we've had right now with the somehow Gabe Butler always manages to be up front when you least expect him, and the man just be sneaking wins left and right. But Sebastian Barron also pushing, but I think we're gonna have a good call coming to the finish here. I think the 94 is gonna have a good chance to kind of side draft and try to get around these guys. I don't know if there's gonna be a big block thrown, but they're already beating around the corner of 3 or 4. But still holding on to the lead with Sebastian pushing them. Sebastian pushing them as they come around the line. Gabe Butler is going to win this race.
Gabe Butler, with the help of his teammate, is going to cross the finish line first, but Maxwell Caldwell working around the outside the hard way is going to grab second place over Sebastian Marin, doing everything he can to side draft. He is going to come home a hard-earned second place, and Sebastian Marin will have to settle for third on the evening. Nicholas Wing fourth, Bud Steele getting the advantage over the middle pack. He is going to finish fifth, with Charles Johnson just behind him in sixth after 90 laps here at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
That was a fun race.
That was a fun race. It was, definitely an opportune caution that we saw kind of at the early stages of this one, just as people were starting to, or just as we finished actually the green flag pit cycle. And thanks to that, we were able to kind of go through the middle portion of this race under green flag and have another green flag pit cycle. We were going to be pretty strung out until that yellow came out, and we were pretty strung out after the second set of green flag pit cycles as well. And Gabe Butler with the execution and the teammate help is going to come back to the front stretch here, and he's going to burn it down here in this 88 Guinness Camaro. Got a couple interviews to do though with our front runners here tonight. We'll pull up the first one in the number 23 machine of Sebastian Marin as he comes home. Mentioned P3 solid execution on the final green flag stop there. And we'll have to ask him and see how that strategy worked out. Obviously, Sebastian, we saw you guys kind of separate yourselves from the field after the first green flag cycle, and we then saw the yellow flag come out shortly thereafter. After the second green flag cycle, we saw the same thing happen where you and Gabe were able to get ahead of the pack. And take us through how you got to that third place finish there tonight.
Yeah, relatively quiet race, very good race, really clean. Just started out front, and the whole goal was just stay out front. Track position's very important here, so I just stayed up there, and every green flag pit stops, I just took right side tires, while I think other people might have taken 4 and stuff like that. But you just lost too much time considering how small the tanks were for tonight. So that's why you saw like the quite a few breakaways between the pack, and there I was dedicated to Gabe. He's a regular here. I'm only here part time, so I was here to help him out. There at the end, I think I hurt my tires a bit just riding in the dirty air, pushing Gabe that entire run. And Maxwell just had a lot more grip than I think me and Gabe there at the end. He even by himself, he was just able to roll the high lane so much better. But fortunately, our pack was so small, he really didn't have any help to contend for the win. But he did sneak in and steal second place from me, so I'm a little bit sour from that. But overall, a good race, still very fun. And hoping that people, get used to this track more, because once people know how to race this track, it's very fun.
Yeah, Sebastian, I would say you didn't necessarily put the foot wrong during this race. You stayed up front a good bit of time, and even with the 2 piss-offs that we had, seems like you were able to get under there with no real pressure, no real instance of mistakes or anything like that being made. What really kind of gives you into that groove? It seems like you were the only one that was really in the groove to stay up front this whole race.
Just judging the lanes, just managing, going from the middle to the high lane, just making the right calls and taking care of the tires. Because if you could probably see at the end of the runs, a lot of people were washing up and just sliding up because they didn't take care of the tires. I think me and Maxwell, I think we're the best two at taking care of our tires. It's just at the end of the runs, we just had so much better grip than mostly anybody. That somebody would wash up and we would just get under them and take a spot. So just know when to take a run, know when to switch lanes, and take care of the tires because the tire fall off is pretty big around here.
Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
saw that. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Oh, sorry. I guess I was going to jump into my next question. Were you guys looking, during the last couple of laps during the race, were you guys looking at that second pack behind you, figuring out if they were going to form up and pass you guys? I know you had about 3 cars there with Nicholas Wing, who's managed to stay with you guys, and y'all made basically a 4-car. Y'all made a 2-car pack into a 4-car pack. But Bud Steele was trying to lead the charge. I don't think he had really any help, but he was trying to lead the charge to get to you guys. Were you guys any bit concerned about that? Coming about 10 to 15 to go.
I was definitely concerned, especially when me and Gabe came out by ourselves. I saw Maxwell and Wing, around 2.5 seconds behind us, which is kind of about the draft distance in this car. So I kind of felt if we pulled away from them, then that other pack was just going to catch us just because they had numbers. But when Maxwell and Wing caught up to us, I was hoping that they would stay with us, which they did, right? They didn't battle us straight off the bat, which kind of helped us grow the lead a little bit to that second pack. And then once we started battling, we were just too far ahead for them to really do anything. So at that point, it was just, let's just not wreck each other and cause a yellow and keep it clean and race it between ourselves.
Yeah, definitely was an exciting one to see. Obviously, we saw Maxwell trying to do everything he could with the side draft there at the end, but still able to get your teammate, at least, or one of the guys you're working with tonight, Gabe Butler, pushed to the win. And assume you got a couple, we'll roll out the red carpet now for you. Assume you got a couple thanks and shout-outs for that 3rd place tonight, Sebastian.
Yeah, for sure. Again, shout out to Gabe and Eric for letting me run with them. Again, I'm a part-timer. I don't do this series full-time, so it's fun to step in every once in a while and race with these guys. It's a lot of fun. Shout out to you guys for putting on the broadcast. Every now and then I'll hop in, and I usually don't type in the chat, but I'll hop in and watch the races. So I'm a regular viewer, so I'm just there, just don't really say much. And shout out to the Area 51 for this league. This is one of the first leagues I started in, so it'll always hold a special place in my heart. So it's a lot of fun. Thank you for them for letting me still participate in this league and not locking me out, for to say. So again, thank you for them, and that was a lot of fun. A lot of people don't race Atlanta. I feel like more people should, and they should get used to it because again, it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate seeing you in the car, Sebastian, and always appreciate you watching when you can from the booth. And congratulations once again, and hope to see you back on track soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Have a good night, guys.
You as well. All right. We've got our 2nd place driver, Maxwell Caldwell, and bring him up. Chris, you want to introduce him and go through how he got to that 2nd place finish tonight?
Oh, definitely.
All right, we'll bring him in here.
So usually we have this guy up in the booth, but decided he felt like interviewing from the podium position. Maxwell Caldwell, you got a copy.
Oh, Chris, my friend, I do.
Hey man, how you doing? That was a pretty interesting race that you guys had there. 90 laps felt like you guys had about 3 separate races with the green flags, and then obviously we had a caution at the beginning. How did that race work out for you from start to finish?
Pretty good. Qualified better than I expected to. I know the boot knocker guys have this down to a science, so I don't even try to go for pole. But qualified there in the top 10 somewhere. And just the first run, just started running, and I'm like, man, I thought they had this fuel thing fixed, but it looks like we're going to be really tight on fuel. I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and start saving because I think some of these guys ain't going to make it. And I think if we could have went green the whole race, those boot knocker guys wasn't going to make it on fuel. I think they had to pit a little bit too soon, and they led a little bit too much at the first run. But that caution saved everybody. We were on track to make it on 2 stops, but some people were going to have to do 3. And we saw even tonight some did make 3. So, but for us, no, we just rode and always had good exits on pit road, really gained spots each time under green. Got a little hairy when Eric Laurie decided to just pump me into pit road, and I'm glad I didn't speed because of that, or it would have ruined our race, but took the faster pair on that one just to be safe, and ended up probably losing a little bit of time there to Gabe and Sebastian, but luckily that 28 was able to pull out in front of me the next lap, and I was able to catch on to him, and we drafted up, and then I just didn't have enough help from the 28 there at the end to give those guys a good run. But I was able to get on their doors and show them I was there. So I guess taking second when you're by yourself and got 2 of those boot knockers pushing ain't too bad.
Oh yeah, definitely. Good run on the outside. You almost had it there. I know you're trying to do a little bit of a side draft magic that we see so often at Atlanta with the outside line. I know we've had iconic finishes in years past. Go dating back about 20 something years. But very good race from you. Speaking of which, with the pit cycles, it seems like everyone had their own different agenda of when they needed to turn in, and we saw some cars going sideways. So it was kind of really interesting to see numbers coming down instead of what the cars the nose of that. So obviously you took a faster pair, but was the strategy were people calling it out decently early enough? Because I feel like a lot of people kind of made it late, or people made some late decisions coming to the pit road, because we saw a lot of penalties being administered tonight.
Yeah, but it was like the first stop I couldn't call out because everybody got on the mic, and you know how it is. iRacing lets one person talk at a time, which I get, but because of that, I couldn't even come on and call that I was coming down pit road the first stop. So I just had to hope and pray no one hit me, and we were fine with that. But man, it was. I think everybody tried to shoot for the same lap that second green flag stop, and that may have been where things got hairy. Just so many cars. I mean, you think of, watching real life in Atlanta. These guys don't pit in very big packs. I mean, we're coming as almost half of the pack there, or half the field, trying to come at one time, and it was hairy. Like I said, I had Leroy Jenkins into my back bumper, and I was like, my gosh. Like, everybody had different braking points, and a lot of people were missing them too. So I know Eric didn't do it on purpose, and y'all know me. I'm just giving him a hard time. He's a buddy of mine. But no, it's just pit road was a little interesting, but I thought as long as you stopped kind of middle of 3 and 4 and started slowing down there, you'd be all right. But some guys sending it just way too deep, way too late. They think it's Daytona and Talladega, and you're still at 1.5 miles. These radiuses are tighter, and people just don't realize that. So yeah, probably a lot of why they missed.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely was. Obviously, got to commend you for that work after the green flag pit stop there to get to the front, and some fortune with Nicholas Wing. But we mentioned it earlier in the broadcast that that might be the move of the race. Had to wait and see if it was a winning move. Wasn't quite, but still a second place finish. I do want to kind of ask you though. Obviously, we saw quite a bit of breakaway from the pack. I mean, you and Nicholas Wing, and obviously the 88 and the 23 machines as well, kind of separating themselves. We saw that after the green flag cycles, and we didn't see a lot of yellows. Were those two things that you were kind of expecting tonight, or are those both surprises that you saw as the race went on?
Expected a lot of yellows. Really did, especially after the first race. And really, once you made green flag pit stops and took, if you were smart, you took right sides, because the right sides were burning way more than the lefts were. So, but coming off pit road those first 5-6 laps, like I know my buddies I was racing with went for a slide, and I was pushing the 28, and I don't know if it was caught on broadcast, but I went into a 4-wheel drift, and I about wrecked it. So you had to give a few laps for those tires to equalize. But yeah, I was talking to Gabe after the race. We really both expected a lot more yellows than that, and the fact that we had green flag pit stops in the first place was kind of a shocker to us. But I'll say I thought it was a pretty darn good race. Been interested to see how people would have done. Like, I'm always on the fuel safe side of things in these races, because even though they say they adjust the laps, they still somehow come down to fuel mileage. So I was kind of saving, but I noticed a lot of guys were really running up front and going hard. So if you had it where fuel mileage wasn't a thing and everybody goes hard from lap 1 to the end, I think you would have probably had a few more yellows and had a very interesting race. But all in all, I mean, boys, I know how it is up in the booth. That had to have been a fun race to watch, especially there at the end. And I don't know how close I was on the door of the 88 and the 23, but man, it felt like I was just everything but touching them. So that was a lot of fun. Not gonna lie, I missed the booth, but that was fun tonight. I'm glad I was on track.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fun to watch. We saw you put in a lot of work there. I mean, probably probably one of the hardest starting second place finishes that I think we've seen just about all season. So again, props to you, and time to roll out that red carpet and give you a chance to give any thanks or shout outs for that second place finish tonight, Maxwell.
Absolutely. First and foremost, got to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. He's blessed me so much to be able to race with all these amazing guys at Area 51 on Thursday nights. I know I like running all the other mile and a halfs and different tracks that you don't draft, but I mean, this is a fun thing that me and a couple buddies are just coming back and doing here a little bit. Guy L's been gracious with me in my master's classes to let me take a break from the booth because I'm going to be in and out probably throughout the season. I'm shocked I've made as many of these as I have, but thankful to Jesus, though, for sure, for saving my soul and allowing me to have such great relationships with all you guys. And then also thankful for the league for putting this on. I mean, it's been a lot of fun this season. It's definitely been interesting, and the variety of tracks makes it fun. And I'm biased. I think Atlanta's probably the best one on the schedule. It's that mix, man, between driving, flooring it the whole time, and having to fight handling issues. Like all of us at the end were saying, thus top four, that we had handling issues. We were tight, we were loose, we couldn't floor it, we had to play with the throttle. Just makes for great racing. So thankful for the league for allowing us to run this track, and thankful for my teammates Andrew Pleshy and Brandon Paul. Brandon's still learning the ropes, so we're trying to teach him a little bit. That's why me and Andrew are running a lot of these, trying to help him get in the swing of things. And he's been doing good, getting some solid finishes. Don't know where he landed tonight, but I know he was in that second pack pretty good. So, and then thankful for Green White Checker TV, man. Y'all do a great broadcast. I keep y'all playing while I'm racing. I didn't get to hear too much tonight because normally I just catch up under the yellows, but there wasn't a whole lot of those. So, but I mean, I've broadcasted with both of you guys. Y'all both do an amazing job. But Boomer, I think you saw tonight who the real 94 was. I just got to say that on air for you, buddy.
I thought about saying something about that to commend you, but I'm glad I didn't. So, because you took that opportunity for yourself. But no, it was, definitely miss having you in the booth. But it was a great run that we saw, and it was really cool to see. Like I said, probably the hardest turn second place that I think we've seen all season. So, congratulations once again to you, Maxwell.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, we've got one more interview to do, and that will be our race winner of Gabe Butler. We'll bring him in here now, and definitely saw a lot of great strategy. We talked to your teammate, Sebastian Marin, or one of the guys working with you tonight, at least Sebastian Marin, and saw you guys with some great teamwork throughout the later stages, and I guess after the first and second green flag pit cycles. Take us through how you got to that win there tonight, though, Gabe.
Well, I'll put this all at Seabass's feet there. He kind of called a strat and kind of made decisions on right side tires. After that first caution or the first pit stop, we took rights. Car is like just really loose for about 7 or 8 laps till the tires equalized basically, and then I pitted again just before the green flag, and I took left, so I had 4, and then on the last stop it was just a straight out 2 right side stop. We were able to get out ahead. Max and Nicholas, they took a few laps, but they caught us, but Nicholas didn't take any tires, so he really couldn't help Maxwell there at the end, I believe. And Seabass did just a tremendous job pushing me and keeping me up front. So like I said, it was all about Seabass tonight. He's totally responsible for me winning.
Yeah, great race from you guys, and obviously a very a critical push towards the end, because I think that 94 definitely somehow was just leaning his head a little bit forward, trying to get as much out of that car as possible, trying to get that second place finish. You guys had a great pit strategy, and I feel like you guys decided that 4 cars were better than 2 coming to the last 10-15 laps to the end. Were you guys playing out strategy of who was going to try to lead this one to the end?
No, not necessarily. I was just having trouble keeping Seabass. I was getting like super tight. He's much better at handling these mile and a halves than I am, and especially pushing somebody. So we swapped, and he was able to keep the distance for as long as he could, and they finally caught us, which we knew they would because they were catching a bit of our draft. We didn't have a draft car in front to help us, so I knew they were going to catch us, but he just did a much better job pushing than I did. So that was the call, and he stayed behind me till the end.
Yeah, I think looking back on this, the passing early on in the race was pretty much every single lap, and we didn't know who was really going to be leading this lap. We know that Sebastian didn't really fall he didn't really fall less than fifth place, but everyone else was kind of running around here. I think the 510 Richard Sanchez was up there, another contender, but it seemed like you guys, the team Bootknocker didn't necessarily have a lockdown that you guys usually do at these plate races that we have week to week. But looking at how everything kind of played out, seems like everything worked out all right for you guys. Was that something that was kind of caught you guys off guard, or were you guys prepared to handle any situation that arose during this race?
Well, I mean, every race is different, but I mean, this track is kind of its own animal. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to pass. You really have to have your timing down when you want to get somebody clear, and then it's just hard to get clear yourself if you're the pushing car, unless you got a train behind you. So, didn't put a whole bunch of thought into it, just other than trying to keep track position, which is as you can probably tell, is really important at any plate racetrack, but especially here. Like I said, Atlanta, it's kind of its own little beast, and so the two tire strat call was the one that we decided to make, and it worked out for us.
Definitely ended up being a race-winning strategy, and the good execution on pit road got you guys out ahead at the beginning and the end. Let's say notice a couple pink accents. It looks like there for the paint scheme tonight. Maybe a little bit of homage to Breast Cancer Awareness Month there.
Well, yes, and it's for my wife also. If you look closely at it, her initials are on there, Jeannie Butler.
Very good. Well, definitely, obviously, great cause to support, and love to see the little accents there for the month of October there. And I'll give,
Absolutely.
want to give you the red carpet now. Roll that out and give you the chance for any thanks and shout-outs for that win tonight.
Big shout out to Seabass for his strategy calls and his skill at pushing. Of course, Eric was running with us tonight too, and Area 51 for putting on this league. It's always fun, and it's generally clean, hard racing and that's what we're after. And of course, you guys, Boomer, Chris, up in the booth, fantastic job as usual. I can't wait to look at it afterwards.
Yeah, we appreciate you, Gabe, and congratulations on your second win of the season.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, so we'll catch you guys up with the last bit of the standings here at the end of this one here. As we've already talked to our podium place earners tonight, Gabe Butler, Maxwell Caldwell, Sebastian Marin, Nicholas Wing there had a little bit less tire at the end, wasn't able to push too much, but still was able to have great execution on that final pit stop to get him in that pack of four at the end. Bud Steele finishing in fifth place, the first car in that second pack that we saw that formed after green flag pit stops. Charles Johnson finishing just behind him. Dean Wilkinson in the seventh position. He's going to be our hard charger, earning an extra bonus point for the championship, up 13 spots. Started last and finished seventh. A very good night for him. Brandon Paul there, also a really good night. One of the teammates of Maxwell Caldwell Maxwell mentioned still fairly new to the iRacing scene and to Area 51. So congratulate him on a solid top 10 finish tonight. Jim Brooks and Carl Engel also bringing home top 10 finishes in the middle of that mid-pack. Corey Buskirk and Ambrose Kniebel, the teammates from Blind Squirrel Racing, found themselves in 11th and 12th. And Robert Rock was the last car on the lead lap, again in that second pack. Eric Laurie, who we saw had a couple incidents in a spin early on, unfortunately going to be the first car one lap down in that 071 machine. Andrew Palesci, we saw him get into the wall towards the later stages of the race and unable to recover for him. Rick Sanchez had to pit early after leading quite a bit of the race and trying to take control. Did not have enough fuel to make it to the end to be able to pit to make one last stop. So unfortunate for him, a lot of time spent up at the front, but not too much to show for it, which definitely stings. But Jeremy Osborne in the 41 machine also, he'll be the last car, also one lap down, last car one lap down. We saw Jack Walls also spent time at the front, had a spin getting into pit road for his second green flag pit stop, and unfortunately that put him 2 laps down, and another front runner who won't be too excited with the results there, unfortunately. And then Richard Bernius, we saw he's going to be the last car 2 laps down, and Bob Fitzgerald retiring early, finishing in the 20th position tonight. So definitely a good race. Saw a lot of good green flag action. Had some, I mean, really the only yellow we had was, I think, timed pretty opportunely for for more green flag action to happen, Chris, and put on a pretty good show through the beginning and middle stages of the race, and we saw quite an effort from the top 4 to try and run away with this one.
Yeah, pretty exciting from start to finish. I know this race almost felt like 3 races in one. I know we had the first set of pit stops and then obviously a caution, and then we had to catch our breath with a commercial break there once that yellow came out. And then the second race, I guess technically the second race for me was watching that that second set of pit stops that these guys had to have, and then the third race, honestly. I was seeing if these guys, Bud Steele, was able to lead that pack. But even with those 4 guys that turned the 5 up front was, racing each other. I know, I think one was lapped down. Even that was pretty exciting. I wasn't necessarily sure who was going to win with the way that everyone was pushing. Obviously, the 94 Maxwell Caldwell almost pulled it out. Almost pulled her out on the outside. But from start to finish, these guys ran great. And it was always exciting. And once again, always happy to be boothing with you, Boomer.
Absolutely, Jago. Definitely a pleasure, as always, calling the action with you. And we've got more action upcoming here in the next few weeks. We will be off next week, so won't be tuning in for that one as we take a break from the action here. Our first off week, our second off week of the season. We'll be going in 2 weeks' time back to Daytona International Speedway, and we will have 75 laps on the schedule there, followed by iRacing Super Speedway on October 26th. We'll have another off week after then before we get to Talladega on November 9th, which will be the last race of the regular season, and then we will have our playoffs starting after that the week of November 16th. So, reminder, next week, no race scheduled for October 12th. October 19th will be at Daytona. iRacing Super Speedway will be October 26th. November 2nd is our one of our other off weeks, and we'll come back to Talladega Super Speedway after that. So we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Don't forget, we have action on Sundays as well. And before I comment, I will make sure if they've got their break this week as well, and they will. So their next race won't be for another about a week and a half there on Sunday nights. So we're going to take a break this Thursday or this Sunday and the following Thursday. We'll be back in action at Daytona on October 15th on Sunday in the Sunday series for the Truck Series, typically broadcasted by our friend Guy L. Brooks. So we'll have to take a week off here in both series, and we'll be back with plenty of action throughout the regular season. One thing always to mention, we do also have a series on Tuesday nights in the IR18 Indy cars. Obviously, due to licensing issues with IndyCar and iRacing, we are unable to broadcast that series, but nonetheless, there is a lot of action there. A really cool open wheel IndyCar style race with racing with a single points championship, no playoff points, no bonus points, just simply where you finish every week. So if you're interested in that, you have to make sure you check out Area 51 and see if you'd like to join. Wish we could still broadcast that action, but again, we'll be back in 2 weeks' time for Thursday nights, and can't wait to be back. So for myself in the booth, Boomer Logan, and for my buddy Chris Django Matthews, we're going to sign off on this one tonight. Hope you all have a great week, a great off week next week, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Take care.